Welcome to West Virginia Beer Roads, a podcast all about beer from a West Virginia perspective. I'm Erin McCoy, here with my podcast partner, Charles Backway.
Across America today, many small breweries are finding the going getting tougher. The craft beer market has matured and settled down. Many brewers are finding growth hard to come by. But successful small brewers in urban areas are still bedrock in their communities. They provide services and products that customers love. Whether they're bigger or smaller breweries, their owners have to be more aware of the things that generate repeat business today. And that would be things like good and consistent beer quality and providing a comfortable and fun brewery atmosphere. To help us delve into those topics today, Erin McCoy and I will be sitting down with Kenny Grayley, proprietor of the Charleston Nano Brewery.
Charleston Nano Brewery is the city's smallest brewery, using brewhouse equipment of 1 barrel or 31 gallons in size. It's also the city's newest brewery, just now a little over 2 years old. Charleston Nano is located in the Elk City district of Charleston in a section that also includes the Bullock Distillery and Wandering Wind Meadery. And Kenny Grayley is sitting across from me now. Kenny, welcome to West Virginia Beer Roads.
Thanks for having me. We're super excited to have you guys today and go over some of our special beers we have lined up for you. And thanks for the 2 years. Congratulations.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Over 2 years, as we said, in business now. And man, that's happened quickly. You've had to learn a lot about running a tiny brewery in the past 26 months, right?
Oh, yeah. I go, shoo, every time.
Yeah. What's been the biggest changes for you in terms of running your business now versus in the beginning?
We've had our ups and downs just with distribution and just looking towards the future to see what all we can change and just modify around here at the brewery and try to do a little bit different.
So lessons learned kind of
yes.
Changes.
Yeah, daily, learn something new.
Well, Kenny, can you single out anything that you definitely do differently from startup if you had to do over again?
So yeah, I would probably just change a few things like advertisement-wise. I would probably advertise more.
You mean like to get started with your advertising to bring in customers?
Yes, yeah, I'd advertise more.
Well, the craft beer market is definitely maturing and changing. I think more so nationally, maybe even than in West Virginia. We were a little behind on that curve, but it's starting to change here too. You know, as we get more breweries, it's a big job today though for most craft brewers to just keep the customers that they have. You know, to keep that customer base intact. And what's been your experience with attracting a steady customer base? Where are you with it now?
We have great beers on tap, and we keep our mainstays, and we have the Club 41 that we started to kind of like expand our sales.
Yeah, talk about Club 41 for just a sec.
Club 41 is we're having a club where it's just 41 people, and every month you'll get like special 2 pours of beer, and it's for free, and on your birthday you get a free beer, and then we're planning on having a brew day where you come and like brew with me, and then you get to, only the 41 people get to have that beer.
Well, that's neat. Do you keep those cups? You said you get your own mug. Do you keep them here in the brewery, or does the customer keep it themselves?
At the end of the year, you can take it home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we're getting some T-shirts made up. It's like I'm like one of the club at 41 at the Nano. It's going to be interesting.
Well, I know here that your business is made up of regular customers, which are, mostly the local folks from the metro area here close in. Then you have your occasional customers that come in from around the town. Then you got your out-of-towners who, just happen to be passing through and they stop in occasionally. I think most breweries find, if you're a small neighborhood brewery like you are, that those regular customers from the local area, that's got to be your base. You certainly can't depend on out-of-towners or even those occasionals unless you're maybe doing some special promotions. What are you finding, though, is the challenge with growing that customer base of those regulars, those locals that come in regular?
Our regulars actually prefer that's like I always say we have too many beers on tap, and I'm always cutting it back. But I noticed that our regulars like to have the same beer every week, but the out of towners like to have one of everything. So they come in and get flights of a bunch of different stuff that you won't find anywhere else. But to grow the base people that we have, I think the Club 41 and having different events is what's going to really do that.
Well, even though it's a tiny brewery, and you just said you have a long list of beers on tap, I see you have one of those beers for Charles and me to sample. So why don't you tell us about it?
This is the Skittle Sour. It's 6.3% ABV, and it's fermented with a blend of yeast that creates lactic acid. It's a single fermentation.
Well, that's a lot like Skittles for sure.
Yeah, it sure tastes like the Skittles candy.
It definitely does. Very, very sweet and sour, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a little sweet and a little sour.
Yeah, I would call it myself maybe a little, definitely on the sweet side, and certainly a little on the tart side. It's a good blend of that tart and sweet together.
It is.
And quite fruity. I don't know what fruits you'd call that, but maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it has a lot of Skittles in it.
We're going to call that the fruit.
Skittles, yeah.
Well, these candy-flavored quick sour beers that you make, I mean, they're a category that seems to become one of your signature styles, Kenny, for Charleston Nano. Tell us how Kenny Grayley became the candy man of local brewers.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. My daughter Zoe is the one that come up with the idea. She was running around putting candy in people's drinks and making it foam up because all the CO2 was coming out of solution. And everybody was like, "Can you make the beer taste like this?" And I was like, "I can try." So I just did like a little test batch, and next thing you know, it just took off.
Yeah, I think I've told you before in here when I'm seeing all these candy beers appearing on your beer list that, there are other breweries I've seen around the country that get big response from customers. I mean, I think it's a whole separate customer. It's not your standard IPA drinker or your Pilsner drinker. It's a broader base of people. Maybe a lot of them aren't even beer drinkers regularly that love these candied beers. What's been your experience with what kind of customers are coming in for those?
Well, I always tell people when they come in, they're like, "Do you have a cider? Do you have wine?" They come in with somebody else that's a beer drinker, or they've been up, to the meadery or distillery. And I'm like, "I have something that's comparable." And I'm like, "Just try it." And I give them just a little tiny sample of it. And they're like, "This doesn't taste like beer." I'm like, "I know." So that's how I get people onto it. And they're like, "It's not too sour and it's not too sweet, but it says it is what it says it is."
Yes.
Well, beyond the Skittles beer, what are some of the other candies you've used that have been well received in your beers?
The Nerds rope candy. I've done that. Jolly Rancher. The Sour Patch Kids.
Oh, yeah. So do they take on just the flavors more of the underlying candy, or if it's an orange Sour Patch, does it have an orange flavor? I mean, how do you figure that out?
Well, there's only one that I like. Take certain candies out of it. One flavor. It's a green apple that I take out of one of them because I was like, that's an off flavor there.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, I just always use just the bags of candy you can get at the grocery store.
Just picking out the candy apple.
Yeah, that's been wild, and I think that's called you the Candy Man because I don't know other brewers in the state that are regularly making these beers like this.
Yeah, every event we go to, they ask for it, and we kick all the kegs.
Yeah, I saw down in Huntington at the Rails and Ales Festival this summer. I was over there talking to you at your booth, and while I was standing there, a guy comes back twice for one of the candy beers. I forget which one, but he asked if you had more of it.
Yeah, I always tell the volunteers, I'm like, you're going to have tunnel vision from the right at the table to these taps right here.
Yeah, that's been quite a find for you to make a specialization in that because it is a popular beer, and I know it's not one that a lot of beer geeks say is a wonderful beer. They want their IPAs, they want their Pilsners and things. But hey, listen, you're in a market here. It's a small brewery. You gotta serve your clientele.
Sure, and what a great way to get people interested if they wanted something in between, like you said, comparable.
Yeah, because do you find some of them come in and then they will sample some of the other beers, like regular traditional beer styles?
Yeah, they'll try it to try to get like a comparison. They always want to try the base beer, the regular sour, and see like, wow, it really does have a big difference in it.
Well, beyond the candied sours, what is your system for rotating certain styles, and is it influenced by season?
Yes, I've learned what ones I'm not really going to have back on because I don't have enough room for them. But it's very much seasonal. So I keep on the base beer and then whatever candy's like hitting at the moment. And then I didn't do any pawpaw this year, and pumpkin's coming up. So it's seasonal.
Well, when you make so many different kinds of beer, it's got to be very hard to do them all very well. What has been your biggest challenges, or what have been your biggest challenges in relation to beer quality?
Consistent ingredients, and then the time frame to get the beers done, and then just the events. That's what's been trying to put me behind, is trying to keep up with that.
To keep enough product for the event?
Yeah, yeah, because the events take like what I sell in the brewery sometimes are a week.
Well, you said ingredients. Is that because of lack of availability, as far as being consistent?
Yes, or I'm getting a lot of grain now locally from Carolina Malt is where I've been buying it all. So and I drive there and pick it up.
Yeah, and I imagine too that sometimes different malts, even though they have the same name from different suppliers, have certain different characteristics that you have to like test out, and it might cause some variability occasionally when you make a beer, same recipe, but with a new malt.
Yeah, there's a lot of it can be from the same field and everything. It just depends on who's malting it. So you get a little bit of different flavor. So I've been playing around with different local malts and then local hops too. I've used those in a bunch of different batches.
Well, let's talk more about specific beers that you'll have coming up later this autumn.
I'll have the pumpkin with local pumpkins in it, and then a maple syrup. I have a bunch of different ones that I do with maple.
Where do you get your maple syrup?
Just over there at the Capitol Market. Yeah, I was getting it before. I got some from Lost Ridge Farms.
Yeah, I mean, but that would be some from West Virginia producers, right?
Yeah, it's West Virginia maple syrup.
Well, you have a small volume production here, I know, but I believe you still sometimes offer your beers to other bars and restaurants. Maybe not a lot, but what are you trying to achieve if you do that kind of distribution?
More advertisement, getting our name out there, just letting people know that we are actually here, and that to come visit the brewery when they're out of beer at their local brew pub.
Well, I don't think, though, you probably make as much money on that, having to sell a keg at a competitive price. Certainly not as much as you'd make selling it over your own bar here.
Not really. We make it affordable compared to some of the big three, because we're not really trying to do distribution, but I do want to it's a form of advertisement for me.
Yeah, so the advertising value makes up all the difference in any costs or profits on that keg, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then we try to let the product speak for itself when I put it out there. I just want people to actually try it out and be like, ooh, well, I'm going to go get this fresh at the source.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you recently had a tap takeover at Oscar's Breakfast and Brews restaurant in Barbersville, West Virginia. How did that come about?
Jason's been after me to get some kegs from me for a while, and I'm just always like, I'll let you know next week. And he just set it up. He was like, you want to do it in the middle of the week? And I was like, sounds good to me. I'm off work, and the brewery's not open, so let's do it.
And that's Jason Beater. For those of our listeners that don't know, he is the owner of Oscar's Breakfast and Brews restaurant in Barbersville.
And also has a brewery himself now.
Yes, Kerber.
In 1861, and
he has a bunch of bars.
Yeah.
Or restaurants. Yeah,
Giovanni's, two of those. And
well, that's pretty exciting. So, did that event go as planned for you?
Yeah, it went great. It was the middle of the week, so I didn't think it was too packed, but it was a lot of new people that got exposure to our beer.
Sure.
Now, did he have to pay you to get you down there?
He bought the kegs.
Well, of course. I just wondered because, the Huntington Market, or that's kind of the Huntington Market, that's a long way from here. You're not going to get a lot of business out of people that live in that market.
No, it was fun to get out, and especially I got a burger and a bunch of fries and stuff, The food's great, so he had me right there.
Well, he does have good food,
For sure. Let's talk about what makes a successful event. Do you have any tips for success?
Plan. You have to plan everything. Events, for us, if we're just doing something small here at the brewery, it's a lot of work. That you do your research, and then you really need to know the age group you're going after for events, and just plan what beer you're going to have.
All right, age groups. What are you talking there? You got to be at least 21.
Yeah. Well, our regulars tend to be older people.
That's got my name on it.
Yeah. We might have seen you in here a couple times. But yeah, you just got to know your audience real well. But the events, you just plan it out and kind of figure out what you're wanting to do. We've had comedy nights. We've had all the different food trucks, and we're having like a costume party, which actually have like a DJ and stuff. So
For Halloween?
yeah, trying to hit different people at different times.
Yeah,
Sure.
Kind of curious there, with those lists of the different kind of events you've done here at Charleston Nano Brewery. Which ones do you think, or what types? I mean, have there been any that stood out through the last 2 years of what's helped really, where you've seen other customers then continue to come in from that event?
The Oktoberfest that we do before Oktoberwest, that's turned out real good.
And Oktoberwest is the local community beer festival out on the street there.
Yep, right out front.
But you're saying before it?
Yeah, we do it before, like a week before, and it just brings in different people that aren't coming in for the music. Mm-hmm. They're just coming in for like the special Oktoberfest style release. And then we have like different food too that we have a chef come cook, Chef Greg.
Yeah, Chef Greg's good.
Yep.
Yeah, and you mentioned some, you said various food trucks that you've had. You've had quite the variety of food trucks here at the Nano Brewery for people to choose from.
Yeah, we like to try to bring in a variety of stuff. We've had, lately, we've had Mooney's, Phillies, and Wings. It's Mooney's and Wings, and then Triple B. And we're getting ready to have Mohawk cheesecake in for the first time. We can't wait to get that cheesecake.
So, Kenny, what other types of advertising and promotion do you like to do for the Nano?
Untapped. I like to do that, and then the word of mouth, and then we have we've worked with the city of Spencer several times, and we've done a bunch of different golfing tournaments, like where you support a hole for that golf.
Oh yeah, like a sponsor.
Yeah, we sponsor a hole, and then we've done the UC football and Vets and Brews. My buddy out of Cincinnati, he's pretty cool, so we do that too.
And do you think that how does that though connect with veterans in the local area here?
It brings in a lot of veterans, and they just have like their time to come in and get their beer and stuff and meet up.
I mean, have you found their groups are willing to help advertise those events?
Yes, yeah. We're getting ready to have a big kickoff event. We just haven't. We've been holding off because of all the other events in Charleston, trying to figure out time to do it.
Oh, there's a lot of events in Charleston these days.
Well, speaking of beer promotion, Kenny, I think it's time for our second sample of a Charleston Nano beer. What do you have for us?
Oh, yeah. I like that idea.
This beer we have now is the Smash beer. It's a Smash Turtle, but I'm calling it kind of a different name. It's Turtle on a Post Farm beer, but it's a Smash beer with Shinston hops.
Okay, I know what a Smash beer is. I'll let you explain exactly, so I don't get it screwed up, what it means, but also what style is it? Go through that.
So this beer is real interesting. It's a local malt, and then it has the local hops, and it has local yeast that I harvested off a tree over by Appalachian Tea.
So very local.
So yeah, it's local water too. We'll leave that out. But yes, it's I think it's an IPA, but a lot of other people say it's a pale. It's all Comet hops and just the Carolina malt, and then it has that yeast I harvested.
Carolina, what, pale malt or Pilsner? Or?
It's the Carolina Gold.
And yeah, so I guess that's sort of a pale malt. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of a pale in color for the level bond.
Well, the beer itself is pale in color.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, I didn't put anything in it to clear it, so it's like hazy.
Yeah, it is a little bit hazy.
So
it's got good flavor.
Why did you go for a yeast that you scraped off a tree?
Well, I just wanted to make something that was like, it's kind of like what Ty says, my terroir here. it is the part of the earth here on the west side.
Yeah, it's pretty earthy taste. I can't say I've never tasted that in from a yeast before. So
I haven't either. It's
I'm
my
not
first
sure
time
what
as
it
well.
is.
it reminds me a little bit of like a kind of a farmhouse earthiness to it.
The hops, they brought them fresh in to me from Shinston, that turtle on a post farm. So I'm just calling it like smash turtle or turtle smash.
So what's Shinston? That's, I don't know, 100 miles from here.
Yeah,
So
it was a good drive. I was surprised they brought it in. I have other hops from another farm, Hopped Up Farm.
Yeah.
I just, that batch isn't done yet. These were wet hops in this one.
So it's wet hop too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that would make a
Okay.
difference in the flavor
Sure
as
it
well.
would.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite good. Thank you for sharing with us.
You're welcome.
It is an interesting beer, as you said.
Yeah. So what do you think? Have you gotten a good reaction from regulars yet?
Yeah, there's a lot of people like it. I only did a barrel because I only had so many wet hops. That was it.
Okay. Yeah. So you pulled this batch out in in a 1 barrel.
Yeah.
Did you say what the ABV is on this beer?
That one is, I think it's 4.2.
Yeah.
So it's lower.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it doesn't taste very strong.
No, it
in
doesn't.
alcohol at all.
It only has like 40 pounds of malt in it for a whole barrel. So it
Sure.
wasn't very much. But the wet hops, they suck up a lot of the wort in the boil.
I don't think we defined what the smash stands for.
Smash is single malt, single hop.
Yeah, so the letters, it's an acronym.
Yep.
Single.
Yeah, it's a single malt.
Malt.
Yeah. And then a single hop.
Yeah, so you get SMASH.
Yeah.
There you go. So if you ever see folks, you see the smash beers around, you know what they are. They're made with some kind of single malt, some kind of a single hop, and not blended of a bunch of stuff like most beers are. Maybe blended a little bit with other, different malts and hops.
But this is something that you just decided, I'm just going to do this beer that's going to be super different and very local, and you just did it on your own, or did you research other recipes or maybe beers that you had that were in this style previously?
I had met the hop farm at it was Blue Farmers Market over at the Civic Center, and I'm just like, I'm looking for local hops, and they contacted me and said, we're going to have wet hops this week. I was like, all right, we're brewing then. So
Yeah, we haven't had a whole lot of success in West Virginia keeping hop farmers going, but there's a few people that have done it for a while, and I think you found one of them.
yeah, they were really nice, easy to work with. I'm looking forward to getting more hops from them.
Yeah, and you say these were Comet hops.
Yep, all Comet hops.
Yeah. Well, Kenny, most of West Virginia's state beer laws and regulations were written with larger breweries in mind. Sometimes these laws and regs that work fine, okay, for bigger craft brewers don't work so well for little nano breweries. Are there things you feel that could be improved in the beer laws and regs to make them more friendly to small breweries and give you more flexibility?
Yeah, there's lots of things. I think everybody could agree on that with small and big. But just being able to have events easier is a difficulty, getting the licensing and the cost of it. Sometimes if the size of the event, it's not worth it.
Yeah, you mean like the license to sell your beer at an event is extra. It's not included in your normal license.
No, and it depends where it's at, and you have to pay different people for like city officials and things to shut meters down, rope areas off. You got to put stuff in the newspaper. You got to let everybody know within 350 feet. There's a lot of regulations that people are already selling beer right there wherever you're wanting to have it. But if you just to do stuff like a block party is a lot even.
Yeah, and then they charge each brewer that comes to that a fee. Is that right?
Yeah, it depends. You can get a fairs and festival license, or you can get one where you can have other people's come in and you buy the product and then sell it.
Yeah, so I know I've heard you say that a lot of times you'd like to be involved in an event, but sometimes it's hard to find who's really running the event, and the way their license is that you aren't even allowed to set up in there. Is that right?
Yes. So the ABCA is always supposed to tell people when you get a license that you are to ask. You send out an email to all the resident brewers and anybody that has a distribution license to ask to say, would you like to attend this event? But they don't have to have you.
I'm surprised, really, though, that you really want to fool with events that much. I mean, you got a nice little place here. It looks like it'd be a lot easier for you and cheaper overall just to bring customers here.
Everybody's always asking why you're not at an event. And it's like, well, it's not because we don't want to be. We're trying now. We've caught up enough. And with cutting the beer list back, I think we'll be able to pull off more events. But event season's slowing down now.
Sure,
time.
with the change in
So
weather.
you're pretty much one from personal experience, though, that says doing those events, getting your beer out in those events in the community is important?
Yeah, I believe so. It's brought awareness that people are like, well, I've never heard of you. They didn't know you were there. And I'm like, well, I haven't advertised a lot.
Okay, yeah. So events to you, as a small nano brewery here, in a neighborhood that's kind of its own little neighborhood that doesn't have a whole lot of other breweries and bars in it. So people, you're saying, don't know you're here necessarily.
Yeah, there's people that drive past us every day, and they're like, we never seen you here.
Well, that's interesting, and I think that's the challenge for any tiny little kind of like a neighborhood corner
Sure.
brewery. That's something that you all have to deal with, and you don't think about it so much when you deal with the bigger breweries that are maybe downtown on the big street with all the bars, and the rent's very high down there. Sure, they're getting a lot of attention. When you're out here in a neighborhood, people got to remember it's a little different for you, different kind of business model.
Yeah, we it's definitely made a difference attending events that they knew where we're at now. So we always pass out little direction cards and stuff to how to get here.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yep.
Well, Charleston Nano Brewing doesn't have a big permanent food kitchen on premise. However, you often have food trucks or grab-and-go type options like we previously discussed. Do you think you will pivot and have a more permanent option for food in the future? I know that when we talked previously, it was something that you were maybe considering.
Yes, we're considering having like a chef here, maybe like twice a week. So a lot of times we'll make pizzas here, and now we have flatbreads and just trying to figure out different food options that'll work for us that we can do while we're serving beer.
Well, Kenny, we've talked about beer events, distribution, marketing and promotion, food service, and more. Now I'd love to hear your thoughts on summing up where you think the best opportunities are for business growth for Charleston Nano.
I think just getting more foot traffic and the events. Yeah, we can touch back on the events. But, the best opportunities for us really is just to get our name out there more.
Yeah. So how much of a role does creativity in figuring out how do I get our name out there that people will remember and the folks won't be saying, well, I never heard of you.
Yeah, that's making our mark with different beers, just letting people know that we're making things that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, you do have unique beers here, and I think those candy beers is one example of something that other people, other bigger breweries here in our market, and we talk about, I say bigger breweries, but the ones that are in our Charleston market, they're probably, a lot of them are 10 times or more larger than you, even though we still call them little breweries, small breweries, but they're a lot bigger than what you guys are. Yeah. People don't probably recognize that.
No, yeah, that people don't know that, like, you'll come here one week and we won't have that beer anymore. It'll be gone. And that's why I like making a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
Just get more exposure to people to craft beer, stuff that you're just not going to find anywhere.
Yeah, and I know you're over here, like we said, in a neighborhood that has a couple of other little outlets, alcohol related, the meadery and the distillery. They draw in some business to this area, but it doesn't sound like it's compared to certain other high traffic areas for nightlife. This is not one of those areas. Would you say that?
Yeah, Dave is doing good stuff at the meadery there, the
Right.
Wandering Way meadery. They have like pirate nights, and they all come in here, and then they have live music there. It's a different vibe at each place.
Has the new restaurant, Sergio's down the street, helped get some foot traffic in here for you?
Yeah, a lot of people will come over here and they'll put their name on the list to wait for dinner, and then once they get called, they'll head over.
Yeah. So 2 years now, or a little over 2 years in, are you happy with the progress you've made?
Yeah, I think we've done pretty good keeping up with everything, and then just now it's kind of time to try some new things. I have time to do it. The POTA, too. It might be time for POTA, speaking with Sergio's. I mean, we've been approached about a year ago, but
And POTA, let's talk about what it is first, make sure.
yeah, it's where you can come in here and get a drink to go and go to another establishment. But Dave's not included in it up the street. That's something else we'd like to see expand the
And that's the
footprint.
meadery. The meadery is not included. For some reason, that's not in the POTA district. I mean, there has to be a district
An
drawn by
approved
the
district.
by
Yeah.
the city government has to do that. So it looks like they could get that fixed.
Yeah, because it would be good because now we'll have Dave, us, and then Sergio's, and then there's Vandel. What is that? The Kinship even has stuff, I think, sometimes. Yeah.
As far as events and things.
Yeah. So it would be good to have that. I didn't think about that till now.
Well, I'm glad you got it in.
Yeah, something else to add to the list.
Yeah,
Right.
so we're over here in Elk City, West Virginia. Really, it's Charleston's west side, right across we call the near west side and away from the downtown area of Charleston. And Kenny and his Charleston Nano Brewery are over here. And let's put a plug in, too, for your business partner, Jennifer.
Yep, Jennifer, my wife, she does 90% of the work around the brewery. Somebody has to do it. It's not me.
She's managing things.
Yep.
Yeah, so folks, this is a little family business, and it's good to see you come in here, and they will both be in the place behind the bar often, and most evenings are open. What are your days that you're open?
Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah.
And then we open at 5 o'clock Thursday and Friday, and we close basically 9 or 10 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock on Thursday, 9 on Friday. Saturday we open at 2 to 10, and Sunday is 1 to 5, and we got root beer floats.
Oh, that's
yeah.
right. Let's talk about those.
Yeah, I forget. I had one the other day, and
Uh-huh.
go through how you decided to do root beer floats,
Well,
and beer floats too.
Yeah, you had the beer float.
I'm sorry, I didn't have root beer float. No.
I'm telling on you. Yeah, Dancing Dog is a local premium ice cream guy up the street here that makes ice cream. So we use the vanilla, and we use our in-house made root beer. So Sunday's kind of like, I call it the Sunday Fun Day float. Everybody comes in for that. And then if you're feeling frisky, get the vanilla espresso in your ice cream, or one of the sours. A lot of people like that.
And then you're saying the vanilla espresso, that's an alcoholic beer.
Yep.
And where your root beer is a non-alcoholic.
Yep. Yeah, people, we sell a lot of root beer.
And you make that yourself here?
Yeah, we make all the root beer.
Are you doing any other soft drinks?
No, I've not had time. I think I have some raspberry I messed around with, but I was like, well, I don't have time to make any more.
Yeah, but for a family, the root beer fits the bill for folks that are looking for something non-alcoholic. Is there any other non-alcoholic products that you stock?
Coke and Diet Coke and Sprite, and I think we got some juice boxes.
Yeah, I know we were talking about food service here. I know you can normally get some popcorn in here. You get pepperoni rolls. You might mention those. Those are awfully good.
Yeah, we got the local made pepperoni rolls by Rory. He mixes.
Rory Perry.
Yeah, he's my pepperoni roll man. Brings them in fresh every Thursday. He chops up the pepperoni and the cheese and puts it in the dough, and then he actually puts pepperoni in it and rolls it up. And then he does them with jalapenos in it too, to make like a spicy one.
Yeah, and I've seen Jennifer puts those in the oven and warms them up for you.
Yeah, we got the little
Sounds good.
toaster air fryer.
Yeah, that's good. That is good. Any other just finger food specialties that are in there most of the time?
Yeah, we have the beer cheese and pretzel sticks. A lot of people like that. And then we'll have the flatbreads that you can get.
Okay, you have flatbread sandwich type things.
Yeah, well, they're kind of like a pizza.
Okay.
Yeah, we only have it's certain days we do the flatbreads.
All right. Yeah. So probably when you don't have a food truck or something out there.
Yeah, we're hoping to have food trucks now every Saturday at least up until the end of November. I think our last one is mid-November right now.
Well, that's good. So get over here, folks, and check out the beer and the food trucks on weekends anyway. And you should get your Charleston Nano experience.
That's right. And they can find you on social media on Facebook.
Yeah, just Facebook.
Oh, okay. Well, look them up. Charleston Nano Brewing on the west side.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This brings us to the close of another podcast. Remember, you can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast host. Thank you for listening to West Virginia Beer Roads.
West Virginia Beer Roads is a production of BrilliantStream.com.